Okay, these are the 8 prayers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, an incarnation of God Himself, Krishna Himself, who appeared a little over 500 years ago in India, in a place called Navadvip, where He's taught and propagated this Sankirtan movement. All glories to the Shri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years together. It extinguishes the fire of conditional life, of repeated birth and death. The Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large, because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss. And it gives us a pure taste of that eternal nectar for which we are always anxious. O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction upon the living being. And thus you have hundreds and millions of names, like Krishna, Rama, Govinda, Jehovah, El Shaddai, Allah, Damodar, Madana Mohana. And in each of these transcendental names, you have invested all of your transcendental potency. There aren't even any hard and fast rules for chanting these holy names. Oh my Lord, you've so kindly made approach to you easy by your holy name. But I am so lost, so unqualified, so unfortunate. I have no attraction for you. One can chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, feeling oneself to be lower than the straw in the street, more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, ready to offer all respect unto others, expecting none from himself. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I want the company of beautiful women, nor do I desire to have any number of followers. All that I want, all that I desire is that I might have your causeless, eternal devotional service in my life. Birth after birth after birth. Son of Maharaj Nanda, Krishna, I am your eternal servitor. But even though I am eternally your servant, somehow or other, I've fallen into this ocean of birth and death. Please, please, therefore, pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as but an atom of dust upon the lotus feet. Oh my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love, flowing constantly while I chant your holy name? When will all the hair on my body stand on end, and my voice choke up, husky with love for you, in the recitation? Oh Govinda, oh Govinda, Govinda, Govinda. Feeling your separation, I am considering a single moment to be like 12 years and more. Tears are falling from my eyes like torrents of rain. Everything in this world is empty, useless, dry in the absence of you. I don't know anyone except you, dear Krishna, as my Lord. And you shall always remain as such. Even though you may handle me roughly when you embrace me. Or you may break my heart by not being present before me. Oh, my Lord, you may slay me or you may save me. You may feed me or you may make me starve. You may kill me outright if you like. The choice is yours. Because you, and only you, can do anything and everything. But you are my worshipful Lord, always my worshipful Lord, always. You are always my worshipful Lord, unconditionally. Haribo, Haribo, Haribo. Those 8 prayers have the entire essence of bhakti within them. And if you come to understand the meaning of these 8 prayers, then you will have no problem with advancing in bhakti yoga. So those of us that are here in the Philippines, which is, I guess, gosh, is it all of us? I understand the internet is so slow. It really is. Ours is very slow as well. So if you cannot open your camera, I understand. Today we are looking at the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. And before we get started, I'd like to offer my obeisances at the lotus feet of my exalted spiritual master, Siddheswarupananda Paramahamsa. Namo Siddheswarupananda Paramahamsa Namine Gaura Karuna Swarupaya Radha Krishna Prastayate. And at the lotus feet of my Diksha Guru, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paschatya De Satarine. And at the feet of all the great Vaishnavas, Vanchakalpatrubhyas cha, Kripasindubhya eva cha, Patitanam pavanevyo Vaishnavevyo namo namaha. Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivas Hari Gaur Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Haribol. In this chapter of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, we discuss Lord Chaitanya's meeting with Ballabha Bhatta. There was some joking behavior between these two personalities, and finally, Lord Chaitanya corrected Ballabha Bhatta and sympathetically accepted an invitation from him. Before this, however, Lord Chaitanya saw that Ballabha was greatly attached to Gadadhar Pandit, and therefore he acted as if he was displeased with Gadadhar Pandit. And later, when Ballabha Bhatta became intimately connected with the Lord invited him to take instructions from Gadadhar Pandit. And thus, the Lord expressed his feelings of love for Gadadhar. This is the summary of that chapter presented by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. But in the meantime, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur explains that unless one is directly empowered by the causeless mercy of Krishna, one cannot become spiritual master of the entire world, or Jagat Guru. One cannot become an acharya simply by mental speculation. The true acharya presents Krishna to everyone by preaching the holy name of the Lord throughout the planet. And thus, all the conditioned souls are purified by the chanting of the holy name, those that are moving and unmoving, those that are conscious and unconscious. They are liberated from the blazing fire of material existence. In this way, spiritual benefit grows increasingly full, like the waxing of the full moon. The true acharya, the spiritual master of the entire world, must be considered as an incarnation of Krishna's mercy. Indeed, he is personally embracing Krishna. He is therefore the spiritual master of all the Varnas, that is, the Brahmins, the Kshatriyas, the Vaishyas and Sudras, and all the ashramas, the Brahmacharis, the Grihastas, the Vanaprasthas, and the Sannyas. Since he is understood to be the most advanced devotee, he is called Paramahamsa Thakur. Thakur is a title of honor that is offered to the Paramahamsa. Therefore, one who acts as an acharya, directly presenting Lord Krishna by spreading his name and fame, is also called Paramahamsa Thakur. A learned scholar named Ballabha Bhatta went to Jagannath Puri, from Bengal, I believe, to meet with the Lord. With great respect, Lord Chaitanya seated Ballabha Bhatta near him, and then Ballabha Bhatta humbly began to speak. For a long time, he said, I have desired to see you. Now, Lord Jagannath has fulfilled my desire. Therefore, I am seeing you. One who receives your audience is fortunate indeed, for you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I understand that. The fundamental religious system of this age of Kali is the chanting of the holy name of Krishna. Unless one is empowered by Krishna, one cannot propagate the Sankirtan movement. You have spread the Sankirtan movement of Krishna consciousness, and therefore it is evident that you have been empowered by Lord Krishna. There is no question about it. You have manifested the holy name of Krishna throughout the entire world. Anyone who sees you is immediately absorbed in ecstatic love of Krishna. Lord Chaitanya wasn't terribly impressed, but he said, "My dear Balabhabata, you are a very learned scholar. So kindly listen to me. I am a sannyasi of the Mayavad school, and therefore I have no chance of knowing what this Krishna bhakti is. Nevertheless, my mind has become purified because I have associated with Advaitacharya, who is directly the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. He is such a great personality that by his mercy, he can convert even mlechas, meat-eaters, into the lifestyle of devotional service of Krishna. Who, therefore, can estimate the power of his Vaishnavism? In this way, the Lord described some of his most intimate associates, from Lord Nityananda, the Avaduta, to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, to Ramananda Roy. And he then went on to explain the 4 kinds of relationships that the individual soul can have with Krishna. And he explained why the speculators and impersonalists cannot even understand this. He explained the pure, ecstatic love of the gopis as being the highest relationship or rasa the individual soul can have. He said, obsessed with pure love, without knowledge of opulence, the gopis sometimes would even chastise Krishna. This is a symptom of pure ecstatic love. Oh dear Krishna, we gopis have neglected the order of our husbands, our sons, our family, our brothers and friends, and we've left all of their company to come to you. You know everything about our desires. You know our hearts. We have come only because we are attracted by the supremely beautiful music of your flute. But you are a great cheater. For who else would give up the company of beautiful young girls such as ourselves in the dead of night? Who else would give up such company? Lord Chaitanya went on to say, the conjugal love of the gopis is the most exalted devotional service, surpassing all other methods of bhakti. And therefore, Lord Krishna is obliged to say, my dear gopis, I cannot repay you. Indeed, I am always indebted to you. He then went on to praise Haridas Thakur, saying that Haridas is among the most exalted of all devotees. Every day he chants 300,000 holy names. I have learned about the glories of the Lord, he said, of the Lord's holy name from Haridas Thakur, and by his mercy I have understood these glories. So, in this way, he praised each of his many associates by name, hinting that if the proud Balabhabata, this great scholar Balabhabata, if you really want to understand devotional service or bhakti yoga, you should associate with them and learn from them. In this connection, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami says, if one wants to learn the meaning of Srimad Bhagavatam, then one must take lessons from a realized soul. One should not proudly think that one can understand the transcendental loving service of the Lord simply by reading one book or another. One must become the servant of a Vaishnava, a pure Vaishnava. One must accept a Vaishnava Guru, Adu Guru Ashrayam. And then, by questioning and hearing the answers, one should gradually learn what pure devotional service to Krishna actually is. That is called parampara system. Hearing the Lord talk of the glories of his devotees, Balabhabata, his pride was cut down, and he wanted to meet and learn from these amazing disciples of Lord Chaitanya. He thought, I don't want to meet any of his disciples. I just want to learn from the guy, the man himself. I don't care about, why should I learn from this disciple or that devotee or, some student or other. But now, after hearing Lord Chaitanya, he wanted to meet them. He also wanted Lord Chaitanya to hear his commentary on the Srimad Bhagavatam. But the Lord refused. He refused to hear Srimad Bhagavatam commentary. And again, he hurt Balabha's pride. And because the Lord would not listen, and then, of course, neither would any of his associates listen. And this really upset Balabhabata. Ashamed, he was insulted, he was very unhappy. Balabhabata went to Gadadhar Pandit. Approaching him with great humility, Balabhabata said, "My dear sir, I have taken shelter of you. Please kindly be merciful upon me and save my life." He felt like he was dying because Lord Chaitanya wouldn't accept or even listen to any of his comments or commentary on the Bhagavatam. And so he begged Gadadhar Pandit to please hear my commentary on Bhagavatam. And this put Gadadhar in a great quandary for fear of displeasing Lord Chaitanya. So he would not make a decision. And said, no, I cannot make a decision on whether or not I can hear your Bhagavatam explanation. And so, not willing to take no for an answer, or not even willing to take maybe for an answer, Balabha Pandit, in his own inimitable, you can't imagine the unsufferable pride this guy had. He was a learned Brahmin, and Gadadhar Pandit didn't forbid him from giving his explanation of the Bhagavatam. And so, thus he began to think of Lord Krishna. My dear Lord Krishna, Gadadhar began to think of Lord Krishna. My dear Lord Krishna, he said, please protect me in this danger. I have taken shelter of you. Over many, many weeks, Balabhabata tried to discourse with Sri Advaitacharya and others, only to have all of his arguments defeated by them. But instead of surrendering and understanding that his explanations were useless and incomplete and even offensive sometimes, he insisted on trying to push his explanations. However, by various hints and refutations, Lord Chaitanya, the Supreme Lord himself, corrected Balabhabata exactly as Indra had been cut down by Krishna. An ignorant living being does not recognize his actual prophet. And so he would go back to Gadadhar and said, well, you didn't tell me I couldn't. And so he started to forcefully give all of his explanations to this verse and that verse of the Bhagavatam. He would say it in a loud voice so that Gadadhar couldn't not hear it. An ignorant living being does not recognize his actual prophet. Because of his ignorance and material pride, he sometimes considers real profit to be loss. But when his pride is cut, he sometimes comes to where he can actually see the true benefit. Finally, Balabhabata began to see the truth. Being very proud of my learning, I am thinking, let me become victorious. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, however, is trying to purify me by nullifying my false pride. For a characteristic of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is that he acts for everyone's welfare. So he is actually acting for my benefit. Although I may interpret his actions as insults. This is exactly like the incident in which Lord Krishna cut down Indra, the great puffed-up fool, to, out of his mercy, correct him. Thinking in this way, Balabhabata approached Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu the next morning and with great humility offered many, many prayers. He sought the shelter of the Lord and surrendered at his lotus feet. The Lord said, Balabhabata, abandon your offenses and chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, the holy names of the Lord. Then, very, very soon, you will achieve the lotus feet of Krishna. Balabhabata wanted to take initiation from Gadadhar Pandit, but Gadadhar refused, saying that the duties of Guru were beyond his realm. But later, Lord Chaitanya actually feigned anger, knowing this. He feigned anger at Gadadhar because of his association with Balabhabata, and he ignored him for some days. But throughout all of this, Gadadhar was not disturbed or even upset. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur comments that Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu acted as a very merciful well-wisher toward Balabhabata. By externally neglecting him in so many ways to purify him of his false pride in being such a learned scholar, the Lord neglected Gadadhar Pandit for a few days too because of his so-called associating with this guy, Balabhabata. Actually, he was not at all displeased with Gadadhar. Indeed, because Gadadhar is the personal potency of Lord Chaitanya, there is no chance of the Lord's ever being dissatisfied with him. However, a person who is too attracted to externals cannot understand the deep meaning of these dealings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And therefore, if one becomes disrespectful towards Gadadhar Pandit, he will surely be vanquished. Balabhabata then took permission from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and his desire to be initiated by Gadadhar Pandit was fulfilled. And that's chapter 7. We're losing people. My goodness. People are going away. Stay, don't go. Chapter 8, Ramchandra Puri criticizes Lord Chaitanya. This chapter describes the history of the Lord's dealings with Ramchandra Puri. Although this Ramchandra Puri was one of the direct disciples of Madhavendra Puri, he was influenced by dry Mayavad philosophy, and therefore he criticized Madhavendra Puri, a great offense. And therefore Madhavendra Puri accused him of being an offender and rejected him. Because Ramchandra Puri had been rejected by his spiritual master, his only concern began to become finding faults with others and advising them according to poisonous Mayavad philosophy. For this reason, he was not very respectful to the Vaishnavas, and later he became so fallen that he actually began to criticize Lord Chaitanya himself for his eating. Said he ate too much. Hearing his criticisms, Lord Chaitanya reduced his eating. As a matter of fact, he stopped eating entirely for quite a while. But after Ramchandra Puri left Jagannath Puri, the Lord resumed his usual behavior. Now, for a little more detail on that, Paramananda Puri went to Lord Chaitanya and said, "My dear Lord, it is the nature of this Ramchandra Puri that first he lets one eat as much as he desires, as is desired, and if they do not eat more than necessary, then with great attention he makes them eat more. Oh, come on, have some more. Oh, you should eat more. Yes, come on, you should have more. This is prasadam. This is the Lord's food. You should have more." And then he induces them to eat more than is necessary. And then he starts to criticize them, saying, "Oh, look at this sannyas. He's eating so much. He's a disgrace to the sannyasas. So how you have so much money in your treasury that you can eat all this amount, whatever, even what is not necessary? Also, by inducing the sannyasis to eat so much, you spoil their religious principles." Talking about Lord Chaitanya, by inducing other sannyasis to eat so much, you are actually spoiling their religious principles. Can you imagine anybody being that offensive? Therefore, I can understand that you are not very advanced. This is Paramananda Puri, one of Lord Chaitanya's disciples, speaking. He said, "It is Ramchandra Puri's business to inquire always about how others are eating and how they are conducting their daily affairs, and then criticizing them. Why, dear Lord, have you given up proper eating due to this criticism of this guy, Ramchandra Puri? Please accept our invitation to eat prasadam as before. This is the request of all of us." So he's speaking for all of Lord Chaitanya's associates. The Lord replied, "Why are all of you so angry at Ramchandra Puri? He is expounding the natural principles of sannyas life. Why are you accusing him?" When they all requested very fervently that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu please eat some prasadam, still he would not do so. Instead, he responded to their request by accepting half portion only. This is the nature of Krishna. This is the nature of the Lord. Because he is fully independent, Lord Chaitanya sometimes behaved like a common man and sometimes manifest his godly opulence. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would sometimes accept Ramchandra Puri as his master and considered himself as a lowly servant. And sometimes the Lord didn't care for Ramchandra Puri and would see him just like being a piece of straw. The devotees, however, considered Ramchandra Puri to be like a great burden on their shoulders. When he left Jagannath Puri to go on some pilgrimage, everyone was so happy, very, very happy, as if this huge burden had suddenly fallen from their heads to the ground. After his departure, everyone was happy once again. Lord Chaitanya accepted invitations as before and led the congregational chanting and dancing. Everyone else also accepted prasad without hindrance. So, if due to offense one's spiritual master rejects you, then you become so fallen that, like Ramchandra Puri, you commit even more offenses to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The character of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is full of transcendental nectar. Hearing about it is pleasing to the ear. Hearing about it is pleasing to the mind and to the soul. Praying at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Sri Raghunath Das Bhatta, and always desiring their mercy, I, Krishna Das, narrate the Chaitanya Charitamrita, following in their footsteps. And that ends our look into chapter 8. So 7 and 8. Next time we'll take up chapter 9 and maybe we'll go to 10. So, the few of you that are left, do you have any questions? Sal, you have a question? Turn on your microphone. Turn on your microphone.
Was Ramachandra's forgiven by Lord Chaitanya's offenses?
Is not stated in the book. Ramchandra Puri left. He left Jagannath Puri and went off on some pilgrimage or other. And the only thing that it says is that sometimes Lord Chaitanya accepted him as his master. So offensive or not, Lord Chaitanya was very, very humble. But then sometimes he looked at him as being no more important than a piece of straw. So that's Lord Chaitanya. You don't know what you can't judge. You can't know what's in his mind, in the mind of God. Thank you. Does that answer your question?
Thank you. Yes.
It doesn't say specifically, whereas it does say specifically that he forgave Balabhabata. It specifically says that he forgave him for his offenses, and that he never was angry with Gadadhar, even though he pretended to be. So, I think that Ramchandra Puri was pretty much digging his own grave. His offenses seem to be very, very grave offenses. And he never seemed to ask. All he wanted to do was criticize others. So if you don't ask for forgiveness, you're never going to be forgiven.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sal. Thank you very much. Haribo. Namo Siddha Swarupananda Paramamsa Namine Gaur Karuna Swarupaya Radha Krishna Prasthayate Vaskatya Desatarine Namaste Sunyadeve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Vaskatya Desatarine Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasade Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,